Peace, universal family. What's the science? Don't mind me, I'm driving and I know it's dark. It looks like we're in the middle of winter right now, and it's April. But I wanted to build with y'all on this glorious day, or glorious evening, I would say, on my physical degree, meaning my birthday. Right? And today's degree in the supreme mathematics is power, or refinement, which is 5. And I'm going to build a little bit on that, but I want to focus on the number 40, right? Cultural freedom, cipher. Why? Because that's how old I turned today. How many revolutions I've been on this planet. Right? So what is power? Power is the ability to do work. I would look at it like the effort. Not so much as in strength. How much oomph you put into something. Right? Because that's what it is. It's that energy. Refinement is to be able to bring things back to its purest form, or to bring yourself back to its purest form, right? When you're out there in the wilderness and you get dirty and everything else, you go ahead and you take a shower, bringing yourself back to your normal state. And that's, in essence, in how we're looking at it. Right? And in the supreme alphabet, today's degree is equality. The 5th letter is Z for equality. Now, yes, I built with this before on how the 6th degree supreme mathematics is equality. And then basically the 5th letter in the alphabet is E for equality. And to me, I see that as two different things. Why? Because in supreme mathematics, equality is how you deal with things. Your own equality within self, versus the equality in supreme alphabet is dealing with how you deal with others. Why? Because mathematics is the universal language. It's how we deal with all things. While supreme alphabet is the language and how we communicate. It is the medium and how you and I verse. So, in that essence, the equality is how I deal with you and how I deal with others. You know what I'm saying? How I carry myself out, how I treat others, and all that. You see, and how I relate that to my age today, 40. Right? And let's break it down before I go ahead and start connecting the dots. Right? What is culture? Culture is your way of life. Your music, your food, your habits. Right? Good way to look at it is 2, right? 2 is wisdom. It's your ways and actions. Something that you repeat all the time, constantly, becomes part of your way of life. So 2 plus 2 gives you 4. So when you keep repeating things, it becomes a part of you, a part of your way of life. Freedom is to be unrestrained, to be away from struggle, to not be shackled. Not to do whatever you want. That is not freedom. Because there are things that are right things to do and there are wrong things to do. So it's not just, I could do this, but in essence, should you? Right? So a lot of people get that confused. And us, for example, us black and brown folk, how when it comes to the housing market, how I forget the term right now, where back then when it came to like building the suburban areas and all that, they segregated black and brown folks to certain areas, they redlining. Right? So that in itself is like being shackled, being restrained, not being given the freedom to make your own decisions to the best of your ability. So how I want to apply this, right? Because you got culture freedom, you have cipher, which is any person, or place, or thing that is complete, a complete system, right? Anything, everything about you, your job, schoolwork, whatever, being a father, a son, a husband, any of those things. And all these things have to do with you. So I look at it as, in essence, of the supreme alphabet, the equality, and how you deal with others is, how does your way of life affect these circles that you're in? How you carry yourself, your way of life, does it mesh well in the circles you be in? Because think about it. A cipher is any person or place or thing that is complete, right? Think about a grandfather clock. All the gears and everything, they're working in unison to form just one large unit. So basically you have one grandfather clock, one superorganism per se. So when you add yourself in, your way of life, does it throw these gears in disarray? Right? So you got to look at, many times we always say, hey, the circles that we're in affect us in a negative manner, let's say those type of circles, and we have to remove ourselves. But just how there are assholes in the world, and if it so happens you are one of those assholes, when you come into these complete systems, are you messing things up? How is your equality in you dealing with others and other systems in play? Right? We can relate this into so many different things. Into people's personal space, when people have certain rules at their house and you go over their house and you're one of those assholes that you don't want to go ahead and abide by those rules because you think you're above that. Right? Things like that, of that nature. That is something that is not conducive to the harmony. Right? And one of the things I'm thinking about, and this is an honor to the late great King Asiatic Allah, who returned to the essence. And I remember, because that brother always said, when it comes to culture cipher, 40, it's freedom when applied to 40 or more. So when it's just alone, it's just culture. But when you add a zero and thus anything else, it becomes freedom cipher. So ever since I woke up today, all I kept hearing is that brother's voice in my head. It's freedom when applied to 40 or more. But you know what I'm saying? I can never forget that brother's voice and his energy. You know what I'm saying? So peace to the God. So in essence, I'm in my freedom cipher years, and the freedom cipher degree in the 1 through 40 asks, what will be your rewards in regard to the destruction of the devil? All right, so let's look at that question. What will be your rewards in regard to the destruction of the devil? And what kind of devil are we talking about, right? So the way I look at that, devil, divine evil. Divine, it means that which belongs to God, of God. So what demons do you carry within you? What kind of evils are within you, right? And many builds I've had, we're talking about your vices that we have. Vices that maybe we don't know we have until certain conditions are met and it expressed. Thus giving you knowledge of what other demons or evils you have, right? It could be gambling problem, it could be anger issues, you know what I'm saying? If you're the type to be punching walls and whatnot. Sloth, laziness, gluttony, lust, all these different things. Doesn't mean you have to have them. You have all of them. There's different degrees of each one. While somebody might have anger issues, somebody might have gluttony. You know what I'm saying? Or lust, which is here in America, in this society, this seems to be the thing to that. That's okay. That's okay. Freedom. Do whatever you want. Again, using the term freedom loosely and in a wrongful manner. And don't mind me if I pause a lot, because again, I'm driving. It's kind of raining, and gotta pay attention to the road, right? And again, why I'm not looking at the camera as often as I like to. But back to the above, in that question, the divine evil, what will be my reward in regard to me destroying these evils that I have within? And the answer, peace and happiness. I will give all I have and all within my power to this day, for which I have waited 379 years. So I'll just stop there. Peace and happiness. So, the question is, your birthday, how do you feel? And I truly do feel that at 40 years old, I've earned that peace and happiness, right? Because when building with other gods and stuff like that, like I've already taken the time since I was 15, since I was introduced to this knowledge, doing research and all these other things. Like me as a vegetarian, there's a lot of things that I've done research on that to this day I still eat. So when somebody else that doesn't know or knows less than me is like, oh, why you do this? And I remember people was, a few people in the past, my past life, I would say that I'm closed-minded because I'm not trying this. And it's like, listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and this is what I narrowed it down to on what I want. So I don't have to go ahead and show and prove to anybody. Why? I did that for me. I've earned that peace and happiness. Why? Because I took the time to gain an understanding of God. So my understanding of God to be complete, right? 379 years. So understanding God born. So I have earned my peace and happiness. I will give all I have and all within my power, for which I have waited 379 years. For which I have waited for my understanding of God to be born, the understanding of me, of things around me, because God is the all things. So at 40 years old, I've earned that I can kick my feet up. That doesn't mean that I stop. At this point, I know I should be sure on my path, let's say, of what I've done. If I've already been doing this since I was 15 years old, and what I'm doing or not. That doesn't mean that at this age, if you still haven't found your stuff, that is bad. No. But if you've been dealing in the same path since, let's say, that age, and at the time you hit freedom cipher years, you're still unsure of that path, then maybe it's time for you to go ahead and move on. You know what I mean? So, for me, I can feel more relaxed, and it is that peace and happiness at first. Those are my rewards, because I've done my part for self, not for anybody else, but for me. And I'll relate this because my parents are here visiting, and one of the things I eat, they ask me what are the ingredients on that, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot, I'll get back to you. They kind of were just looking at me, and I was like, listen, I researched this stuff back in my early 20s when it was first introduced to me, those veggie burgers and whatnot. And at that time, that's when I did my research, and it was good enough for me to go ahead and keep on eating. And then my thing is, I don't have to keep reading those same ingredients of the same things that I've eaten or still eat. And because I have that peace of mind that I've done my research on this. Now, if something new gets brought in, some new company brings in some new ingredients or whatnot, then that's a whole different thing. But I've done my research on self. I know who I am and what I'm capable of and what not capable of. That is my peace and happiness, and that is something that I live with. Why I can walk with my head up I'm not gonna say high, but walk with my head on straight, and not feel have low confidence or low self-esteem or anything like that, because I put in my work. For me, I took the time to understand who I am as God and the completeness of that. The full circle, the completeness of what I am to me. And that's how I carry myself in any circle that I'm in. That's what I bring to the table. And to best understand this, think about if you've been doing research all your life on something that you always been interested in since you was a little kid. Right? For me, for example, is anything science. In my teenage years, I was always intrigued about evolution and the process of how the earth formed and all this other stuff. And this is something that is still ongoing. Every time I come upon something new or I have some time, I'm always researching. And if you're a person that you just Google something because somebody mentioned something in a conversation yesterday, and you spend all day Googling, and then you want to come and have a sword fight with me about said topic, I don't have to show and prove nothing. Because again, not only did I put my time in for research, but I also the processing time. Developing the intellect to be able to understand these things and have it not just make sense, but being able to connect the dots and be like, okay, this goes with that one, oh no, this is actually false. This is what I used to think before is not good, because based on this, it disproves this, right? And that's how it should always be, each and every day, each and every way. So I've always found myself getting annoyed with stuff like this, because this is like, how much time have you taken to research these things? And you want to come here like if you have years of experience and stuff like that, right? Because it's one thing to learn, right? Like little kids, they go ahead and when they're in elementary, they go ahead and learn a word and they start using it. And it's like you realize, because you got time and energy using these words, that you're like, hey, you learned a new word, but you don't understand how to use it. And this is where it comes to. It's just putting in that time, the 379 years, per se. Right? So, me being free to be at peace and to be happy. Not saying that now that I turned 40, that's when I'm happy or anything like that, but it's just like when it's like it's sunk in. Get a little placard or something put on the wall, you know what I'm saying? My peace and happiness. And I'm very adamant about nobody outside of me ruining that. No compromise. Right? Because then I will no longer be free. I need my cipher, my complete self of who I am, my systems within me, to be free. And I will give all I have and all within my power. Right? It doesn't matter who I'm with. And they're disruptive on that system. Why? Because I've took the time and energy, right? Power. The ability to put in work to figure me out, my shit out. And it's not something that is hurtful to others or anything like that. And I'm just like, you know what, I don't care. No, it's not that. This is what I do to make me be happy and be at peace. And hold on, I'm just parking, pardon me. Not having a brain fart or anything like that. And I'm here. Now I can look at y'all. So, what I was building on, kind of lost my train of thought a little bit there. Had to pull a U-turn. about me and how I am. Just finally gaining that freedom that I don't have no mental shackles, no emotional shackles holding me back on how I am within my own circle, within my own space, right? Because that's something that many people don't have that is well defined. You know, some spaces you have to draw a definitive line, a solid line that you know, all right, you're in here and then you're not. While others, it's fade like the Earth's atmosphere. You can't tell, you can't put all right, this is it, this is the limits. It just thins out, it fades out. You know what I mean? And it, depending on what system you're in, you might have to be one or the other. And on some things, a part of me, it's a definitive border. While others, it gradually fades depending on you can be in or not. And what I say to y'all is that think about how your way of life affects that circle that you're in. Does it affect your personal space? Is it affecting your personal space? Or is it affecting what you want to do? Right? Because think about circles just spinning. And think about to what I said the other day about a circle being just a two-dimensional plane, just looking at it like this. But then when looking at it three-dimensionally, you can see that it's actually like a spiral staircase going up. And this is spinning whichever way you see fit, which is counterclockwise or clockwise, whichever other way. And you adding yourself to this system that you're striving to be in, is it disruptive? So you have to free yourself. Free the cipher from all these destructive demons that you have within yourself. And it might take some time. You might have to look in the mirror and start being honest with yourself. You know, because it does feel, you know, I know it's cliche to say, you know, it's like a new chapter, but really it does for me. And each year that passes, it's more firm that what I've been doing for self has been right and exact all along. Whether others from my past agree or not. Because it works for me. And this is not something that when you get, let's say you find a significant other, that you have to change these certain things. No, because this is about happiness for you. I'm not doing anything negative to get this happiness. And I'm not talking about the happiness that just is like a high, that it's fleeting, that is at the moment like burst. This is a happiness that is everlasting, a peace that's everlasting. And others would be attracted to that. You know what I mean? Just the same way I would be attracted to others' peace and happiness that is everlasting. And let's be peace and happiness together. Peace and happy together. I know I said that wrong. Because that's what you want. Why would you want to be with somebody, if you're at peace and you're happy, to be with somebody who's chaotic and all that? You know, they might be attracted to your peace and happiness because that's what they long for, that's what they want, but they're not ready for that. You know, you can go sit there and help them out or anything like that, and that's all up to you. That is your choice. Again, freedom. Your choice. You're not bound or limited by anything. You can make these choices. Whether it's the right one or not, you have to be able to deduce that. You know, but the freedom is to be free to make the right choices. Right? So, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy the rest of my physical degree. You know, and this is something to always think about, guys. So with that, I'm going to say peace and enjoy the rest of the evening.